Hi, welcome to Far From Eden. Ah, it's things happen so quickly in the world now. The news cycle, so to speak, news cycle being what the corporate press, the legacy media press, the propagandists, whatever you like to refer to them as, it's a quick turnover of a story. Uh, so fast. It used to be like a story was a week long, and then pretty soon it was, a few days. Now it feels like it's, half a day, if that, or swept under the rug entirely. This has been at least what I've seen in my lifetime, being born in the late 70s. And I've paid attention to the news pretty well over the years. I'm pretty like a nerd, even when I was a kid, because my dad always watched the news. So I wanted to know why, why it was so important. Anyway, I say that to say, when you're trying to figure out what men are facing in society as far as what they face in the legal system, against the legal system, in family court or even criminal court, as to, false accusations, or now you're looking at, getting hired. If you're not part of a perceived, oppressed group, historically oppressed group, then, you're not as likely to get hired or get into college, et cetera, et cetera. So as soon as you're covering something about the situation we're in and how we got there, it's even worse. It's an even worse situation. I started getting red pilled, which back then kind of meant a little something different, but y'all know what I'm talking about. I started understanding what was going on with men late 2017, 18, and then I've been understanding more and more as time's gone on. Started this channel in 2020. And you got to check back in with the normies every once in a while to go, what are they doing now? What are they thinking now? Because it changes every 5 seconds. So I want to know what's going on with Drizzle, which I have to say, one of my favorite things to come out of Drizzle was Grizzle, because of the whole we'd rather be with a bear, thing. And that's hilarious to me, because the women would rather be with a bear, will rather encounter a bear than a man in the forest. And now they're like, but wait a minute, they won't ask me out. Like, make up your mind. You told them you were more afraid of a man, any man, than a bear, any bear. And you're like, how come they're being like this? A lot of the men are going to say, it didn't hurt my feelings. But come on. When you say a whole group is a certain thing, a certain way, they're dangerous, they're predatorial, we expect people to think after you say that. Ladies, what did you think that men would do? Just carry on as usual? Probably that is what you thought, because you're used to kicking them around. You're used to kicking them around, and you're used to there being no consequences. So why would there be consequences now? Well, I have to tell you, men are human. Men have feelings, and men are not interested in spending resources on people who don't appreciate them, let alone attack their character just based on, the fact that they're a man. It tells them a lot about your character, honestly. So, sorry, we've got the fan going on because it is warm here. And so we will, I'm trying not to, mess with my hair too much, but it happens. So one of my favorite channels to look at to get an idea of what's going on is Man Reacts. He puts together a great video, and then he reacts to it. And if it's incomplete, if I just react to the women, it's incomplete. I'm not saying it's not something that I should do, but it's incomplete for me. because it's irrelevant if I don't have what you guys are getting from it. I want to say one more thing before we jump into that Man Reacts video. I've noticed something. This is my own observation and logic. Women tend to be better at letting nasty names and things people say about us roll off our backs. Now, doesn't mean we don't react to it and all that, but we will let it go easier. And here's what I mean. And I'm not trying to say that men hold a grudge. It's not the type of thing I'm thinking of. I know that a woman will remember that you didn't pick up your socks that one time. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about calling a person a name, saying something nasty to them in the heat of the moment, let's say. Women are used to, I think, doing that with one another and then apologizing and to each other and then saying, oh, I didn't mean it. I was this, I was that. And the other's like, oh yeah, I know. And it's easier for us to just do that. It really is. When you insult a man, when a wife insults her husband, that cuts very deep and is very, very painful for that man and very damaging. Now, this part is going to be, I almost didn't say it. This part is going to be a little bit controversial, what I'm going to say. I have a theory. You can take it or leave it. The women will mostly want to throw it in my face. I have a theory that when men get upset about their day or their stress, they might need to, like let it out. You know what I mean? They might need to do that. Not abusive way, but let it out. And I think that we women have the ability to just, all right, that's all right. Same with kids. Your toddler might yell something at you. I know people say, well, your teenager might, not if you raise them right. But anyway, your small kid you're not going to take that personally. If your baby is screaming, you're not going to take that personally as a woman. Maybe we have this ability because we're used to, we're supposed to be used to babies screaming, and then it's not about us and it's not personal. And so we just have that ability. And men have different, talents and abilities. And when you hurt them like that with your words, it's very bad. They can be big and strong and powerful, but they still have soft hearts inside. That's why they save like the little kitten. Or I watched some men, take off the grate and save some baby ducklings that had fallen in there. And that's why, because they've got that soft heart, and it's just not recognized. It's just not recognized by women at all. Not at all. And it's sad. So let's share the screen. There was one time I started making a video and I hadn't put myself on the StreamYard thing, so I was just a black screen the whole time. I was like, oh, we're gonna have to start that over. Just again, why I don't do live just yet. It's too much. All right, so let's see what the women folk are saying about, what is this called? This is by Man Reacts. Like I said, modern women around the world are finally realizing that. Oh, they're not getting asked out. That's good. What did you think was going to happen? What? I did full screen. What are you talking about? Sorry, I have to argue with the computer for a second. No, it thinks it's full screen. Okay. I don't know, you guys. It's a little bit of a rough day, MS wise. If you're new to the channel, I was diagnosed. Happy anniversary to me. 24 years ago today. I think my body must know it's having a bit of a party. But we're doing this. We're doing this anyway because we got to check in and see what the women folk are doing. How are they reacting?
See these 65-year-old women videos going viral
volume
where they
online.
say, I walked with the feminist. I bought into the argument of being a feminist. Man was an enemy in my life. I'm 65 years old. I've never been married. I have no kids. I will never be able to experience what it is to be married to a man when I was in my 20s. The concept of feminism stole that away from me just because I looked at man as the enemy, and he's not.
A woman called me. She said, I'm 50 years old. I have 3 degrees. I'm a very successful entrepreneur, CEO. And I want you to know, Dennis, that I deeply regret that I followed the feminist advice at college. Because when I come home after a successful day at work to an empty home, no husband, no children, no family, it's not good.
Patrick Bet-Davis recalls a 65-year-old woman regretting her life's choices and sharing how feminism taught her that men were the enemy. And because of that, the woman never got married, never had any kids, and only realized when she was older how she'd missed out on the most important aspect of life, which is having a family of her own, having a man by her side, and raising her own children. She basically said that feminism gives women the wrong ideas about the world, about the role of men in women's lives, and how wrong it was to take away a whole side of life that women often forget is the most important for everyone to experience.
Women often forget. This is why I like to react to Man Reacts, because Mr. Man Reacts, yeah. The thing is, to forget something, you have to know it in the first place. And that's a problem. And this 65-year-old woman that Patrick Bet-Davis was, David, I think is his name, was talking about, I am 20 years-ish younger than she, and I made a similar mistake. My mistake was that I thought that no person should be burdened with, multiple sclerosis. And I already was. And I just didn't think it was fair to ask someone else to be burdened by it too, or to expect that. I will admit right now that I didn't think that a man would be up for it. Now, was that because he was a man? I'm not sure, because I didn't feel like it was any person's responsibility or that I had the right to expect it of anybody. The thing is I don't have the right to force somebody, obviously. But I didn't know. I never learned early on, which I should have, that family is the most important thing. And that becomes more and more obvious as you age. And I never, I should have said, well, I have this thing. Maybe there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to be up for it. And I totally understand that. And I should have had faith. I should have had faith. And I didn't. And that is 100% my confession about it. Because I can make excuses all day long and say that, well, I didn't think it was anybody else, should be burdened. And that's great. But it was still the most important thing in life. And the fact that I absolutely shut the whole thing down, that was a huge mistake. It wasn't fair to me. It's not fair to the children I should have had. It's not fair to the husband that I would have had, at that time. It wasn't right. And it wasn't biblical. And I was supposedly, a Christian, and it was not biblical. So as far as what's going on with the women that have all the cats and everything and are coming home to empty homes, and, I think they're putting away, more than their fair share of wine. It's not good. It's crisis level. I think that Kevin Samuels knew this. I think that he saw it coming and he was ringing the alarm bell. And I also think that the powers that be did not want that alarm bell rung. So, but maybe he just died of hypertension.
Then we have a 50-year-old woman who shares that she has 3 degrees, she's extremely successful as an entrepreneur and CEO, and she deeply regrets following feminist advice in her 20s. She regrets it because, after her successful day at work, when she comes home to an empty place where there's no husband and there are no children, she doesn't feel happy. She feels as if she's messed up. She feels lonely and angry at the fact that now she's 50 and really doesn't have the chance to find a husband, have children, and raise them. She feels like her life doesn't have any meaning and that she has no purpose. After all the success she's had, she feels that there isn't anything else except work to look forward to. She doesn't have anyone to go on vacations with, celebrate birthdays with, or share her joys and sorrows with. She sees people around her with families having joyful times together, celebrating each other, watching the children grow, being there for their partners, and having a lot of love in their lives. That being said, if I could give any of the younger women out there any advice, it would be this. In your youth, choose a man to settle down with. Because beauty is on your side when you're young. Age is on your side, but in 10 years, it won't be the same. Some women in their late 30s or even early 40s wish to settle down and have kids. To them, I can only say that you're 42, or in some cases 45. Your window for becoming pregnant is almost over. You can encounter all types of issues, such as high-risk pregnancies. IVF therapy is frequently required to induce pregnancy. The most crucial thing younger women can do is show interest in a man's future rather than his current financial situation, because it will be difficult to find a man your age who is a millionaire if you're 23. Someone who fits this description may be in his late 30s or early 40s. But if you want to start a life, look for a person who has a promising future. Guys are more interested in a woman's background. What did her history look like? Does she have many affairs under her belt? Men have to add value. They must develop their own identity. If a woman is going to compromise and climb the corporate ladder, and then at 42 decides she's ready to have children, she will have a difficult time finding a man since many men are not interested. Women need to maintain their value and make sure that they give something of value to a guy. They are more drawn to someone who is more likable, younger, and has lesser baggage. So, it is what we've been saying all along. Sooner or later, women are going to realize how they listened to the wrong advice and how they wasted their lives trying to chase corporate careers and businesses. Like the examples we saw in the clips shared at the beginning of this video, older women realize this and understand why it is important for a woman to have a family early on in her life, find a partner, have children, and grow with her family so that she has meaning and purpose in her life. Because what happens is that when women only focus on their careers, they miss out on a more intrinsic purpose that nature intended for them. The purpose comes with having a man in her life and having her own children. I say it again and again, and I'll say it still. Nature intended for man to be a provider and a protector. And if you look around the world at any given time in history, whenever man has tried to deviate from that, he's been miserable.
And I would say that to the uh, the MRA types who push back against that man should have to provide and protect, that's some kind of like a simp thing to do. It's only, I mean, yes, a man I think was made to provide and protect. He's clearly the one out of the two of us to do that. I mean, yes, women can gather and we can provide from our own bodies because we were made to have children and nurture the children. It's clear as day, unless you are willfully wearing the blinders of the elites that want to confuse roles that are inherently true. They want to do that because they want to hide God. They want to hide empirical truth, because the fact that there is empirical truth, it points to the fact that there is God, right? Otherwise, and then people are like, well, what about science? Well, science is just the study of what already is, but God is what made it what it is and how it operates. Anyway, and everything he's saying is right. And everything he's saying is the best advice that women are not hearing. They're not hearing this advice that he's saying. The problem is too, though, we are ignoring any kind of female nature in this. There's male nature and there's female nature. There's positive aspects to it. There's negative aspects to it. And he's ignoring the negative aspects that can be part of female nature, right? He's only talking about the positive stuff that we can do. There's plenty of times when people point out that, how male nature can take a turn and be too aggressive, right? Instead of protecting, can take advantage of others, etc. But that is not, by and large, what the majority of men do. In order for a woman to, be a real mother and have children in the family that she understands are her husband's children, not just my kids, she's going to have certain characteristics, and she's going to have good character. In order for that to happen, she has to be raised a certain way. So just realizing, oh yeah, family is important, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. I mean, women might think it's enough to say, oh my gosh, family is the most important. I should have done that. Well, why though? Why? Because you're sad and lonely? Because that's not the reason. So this 65-year-old he's talking about and this 50-year-old he was talking about just now, so are they upset because now they're sad and they're alone and they're scared that no one's going to be able to take care of them? Because they weren't sad during a time when they should be making sacrifices for this family they speak of now. So if I were to say to these women, well, what if we go back in time and we take away these degrees and we take away this money and we take away this status and we say, hey, you would have had to get on board with another human being, being a man. You would have had to let him lead. You would have had to do that. Are you still saying you wish you had a family? Or are you just saying, I wish I had the good stuff, but I'm still glad I didn't do the other stuff? That's what I'd like to know. But I get it. Man reacts is a man, and there's only so much that he's probably willing to say. And there may be some things that he's actually, not being a man, doesn't realize part of who we are as women. There's some stuff that we need to be kept away from, and we need to not have our, we don't need to be affecting everything in society. It doesn't bode well for society, as you can see. And yes, I am referring to the 19th Amendment.
Same goes for women. If women ignore and neglect what the universe and nature had in store for them, which is to care for their man, raise their children, and nurture their family, then she's been miserable. There's a reason women have the ultimate power to bring life to this world, and men don't. There's a reason men are physically stronger than women. That's not just some sort of fault. That's how nature intended it, and there's a reason nature intended it. Feminism has really made it impossible for women to grasp these ideas because it constantly bombards women with this thought that they need to be independent and that they don't need any men in their lives. Feminism uses popular culture, such as movies, television series, documentaries, talk shows, the news, books, music, comic books, podcasts, social media, and social media influencers to perpetuate this thought that a woman who spends her prime years laboring in offices and building wealth are real women, and that they're the women every other woman should follow the example of. What happens is that when these women reach the age of 40, They realize they're already past their biological clocks and will probably not be having children anymore. With this, they keep repeating the same mantra that they don't need any men in their lives. But as the years go by, they start to realize they really don't have any purpose in life. And the companies they've been laboring away for don't really care about them because they can fire or lay off these women at any given time.
Kind of like how the women in the last several decades have been firing or laying off their husbands at any time. Just saw that little thought came into my mind. So I know it's difficult to have sympathy, right? It's difficult to have sympathy. Look, I don't think anyone should have sympathy for me. You know, it's clear as day. I was raised believing in God. I was raised knowing be fruitful and multiply. I was raised all that, but yet I decide other facts came in, so I'm gonna no. That's the epitome of pride. My ways, I know what I'm doing. Forget that. Forget that. That was wrong. And like we can have babies, it's clearly what we're made for. And what did I think my purpose was going to be? That I taught a bunch of people to ride? That I felt like I was a good influence on them? Yeah. I mean, sure, but that's pretty pitiful. So same as the women who went out and worked, and what are they going to say? Like, I was promoted to this, and I was chosen as the keynote speaker for this, and so what? It's empty. It's empty. It's completely empty.
The biggest example of this is the recent tech layoffs that we say in the United States, and then consequently the rest of the world. And so, it's only then, when they know they cannot go back in time and do this over again, they realize how they'd wasted away their lives solely concentrating on money, building wealth, investing, and chasing corporate ladders. They realize all the money they have now in their bank accounts, they don't even have anyone to spend that money on. They don't know what to do with their investment, except perhaps make more and earn more. They don't have any children to pass it on.
Well, I will say women generally don't think about who to pass on their money to, and they don't have a problem spending money. That's actually not, I would say that's not where women are. It's the being alone. It's the fact that they're alone and no one needs them. No one needs them. And they realize they actually have some needs. That's where the issue is. They're not thinking about passing on a legacy or, having no one to provide for. That's more of what men would think. And it's perfectly, that's a very good and honorable thing to think, but that's not how women think or what women think about. So just wanted to point that out.
Don't have any children to pass on their knowledge, wisdom, and all the things they learned in life. The only thing they did in their lives was live to make money, and sure, that's something they did. But then what? Thousands of other people do that as well. When those people die, they're forgotten in a matter of days and months. They don't even have anyone to visit their graves. They're literally forgotten. Even the companies they worked for all of their lives replace them within a month or two. Sure, they might have coworkers and friends, but all of them are busy living their lives and making memories with their partners and their children. So, it is absolutely crucial for modern women around the world to realize that life's not just about making money, generating wealth, starting businesses, and climbing the corporate ladder. Because women have the
And again, for women, it's not about the making of the money. It's what the money can do for them. It's a certain lifestyle. It's that the women want to experience extravagance, luxury with where they live, what they drive, the vacations they go on, the clothes they wear, etc. It's what they're going to spend the money on. And it's also the status that they feel they've earned. That people are going to look to them and be like, wow, look what you did. You're the whatever your title is at work, right? It's not about actually making a lot of money or that kind of, it's a whole different idea of like climbing a hierarchy, because women don't really look at it like that. But it's, let's say it, let's call a spade a spade. A lot of us women, who chose this like career path or whatever, we didn't think about it that much at all, let alone to the way he's thinking of it. Not that it matters a whole lot. It's just a little interesting that, this, of course, men think like men and women think like women. So it's a little difficult for a man to totally get into these women's heads and know what's going on. The important thing to notice is that the women are facing some regret. And, but what are they doing about it? Are they going to teach anybody else? Are they going to tell the other women? It's like I posted the video yesterday because I was very impressed that some of the women were listening to the other women on the panel who were anti-feminists and knew the roots of feminism and knew the lies of feminism. So I was interested in, hey, if that's just what gets your foot in the door in the conversation with women, maybe that's how we can, I don't know, advance the discussion. But back to what Man Reacts is saying.
Leverage of not doing any of that and still live the best lives with their partners who are happy to be providers, and even happier when they have wives who give birth to beautiful children. And together, they raise their families. I think there's a reason people were happier back in the day, and I think that the reason was that people used to stick to certain roles in life and not get worked up on chasing things that they weren't meant to chase. I really hope modern women identify that feminism is selling them something they're not going to be happy about later in their lives. What are your thoughts on this, guys? Let me know in the comments. And as
Yes, it is. Well, I've let you know my thoughts on it. And we're going to watch another video by Man Reacts because, well, we need to answer this with how those women got there, because you can feel sympathy, but when you realize that some of these women have just been absolute horrors to men, well, it's harder to feel sorry. It really is. No. Sorry, I'm fighting with the technology. This isn't the technology I wanted. Oh, what is this? Oh, this is what I wanted. Yeah, I think this is what I wanted. Right. So one of the things, right? So this whole girl boss thing. We talked, this last video was these women all chose girl boss life before girl boss was a term. Girl boss is something for the Gen Z kids, so they can, act like they invented it. But the problem is the same lie is working on a whole different generation. And one of the ways that they brilliantly did this was they figured out, well, with the women going into the workforce, they're still going to want to get married. So let's make it so that they won't get asked out anymore. Because if they get asked out, then they might get married. And I don't think the elites want us getting married. They don't want it. So when I was a kid, I remember Clarence Thomas trying to get, Lola would like to remind you to like the video. When she distracts me, that is my key, my, what do you call it? Reminder to ask you guys to like the video, because I usually forget. Anyway, Clarence Thomas was going through his, to get approved to be a Supreme Court justice. And he was accused by Anita Hill of sexual harassment in the workplace. And this was very sort of a new concept. And boy, from then on out, they just acted like this has always been a thing and it's a terrible problem and we need to know about it and we need to combat it. And it's like, okay, sure. That's just, yeah. So,
Modern women are not getting asked out or
I
accepted at
don't
work
know how
anymore.
to use my
Imagine thinking
computer
that
at
it was
all.
a bad thing, by the way. From
You guys have to see it. It's not good enough just to play it. You have to share a screen first. So let's do that. My goodness. Is it gonna work? Okay. There we go. This is my first time doing 2 videos in one video. So brand new. So this is women, they're mad that they're not getting asked out at work anymore. They haven't been in a long time. But again, they'll do this. Act like it's brand new. Maybe it's brand new that Gen Z guys figured out, oh, we better not do this.
Modern women are not getting asked out or accepted at work anymore.
imagine thinking that it was a bad thing, by the way, for a man to say that it's their job to take care of women. Remember when that was noble? You remember? I don't remember when the Titanic was sinking. I don't remember all the women complaining that they were on the boats first with the children. No. But they're like, no, I'm staying here. Men, you take the boats. I've got this. No, because that would be weird. That would make no sense, right? And now we're warped, right? So this now we've been programmed as women to think that when a man says it's my job to take care of a woman, you're supposed to be offended by that. Instead of saying to yourself, well, that's a fundamentally decent man that thinks that's his job and is going to work his butt off to make that happen. Warped society.
Excuse me. That's because, and we were still too far gone by the time the Titanic happened. But the women on the Titanic, to some degree, understood that there was it was transactional, that there was something expected of them as women to have that privilege of women and children stay behind. I mean, women no, men stay behind, women and children on the boats. I knew what I was saying, and just my brain tried to say it both at the same time. Anyway, so they understood, hey, this is like a contract we have here where we have the children. We stay home. We have as many children as our bodies will have, right? There was a duty that women had to their husbands, to their families, and to society as a whole as far as population. Women have no such sense of any kind of duty now, and they don't like it. So, lady, I forgot your name, but you used to be on The View, I'm pretty sure. They get offended at the idea that a man would provide, because I think in their minds, they know something might be expected of them and we just can't have that. So I think this TradCon chick here would love it if men were still doing what they did back then, but don't think she, and I could be wrong, but she maybe doesn't feel like women need to be having any kind of duty or responsibility to the men in return. Maybe she's going to prove me wrong in 2 seconds. I doubt it.
Don't play the game.
The women today live in a delusional world. They should talk to their grandmothers because they did work and work harder, because they did not have all the modern conveniences that their granddaughters have. And yet these young women just complain about doing a little work. I am old, but let me tell you that women who lived in the cities and apartment houses had to come downstairs and pump their water and bring it upstairs. Too many women today are almost worthless.
It just doesn't make sense to me how women are not being asked out on dates. Like, there are so many beautiful women, like, come on, like, just shoot your shot. But a lot of the things that the guys were telling me, and these were guys from the ages of like 19 to 40, was like, no, we don't want to intimidate a woman. If we see them on the street, like, we'll cross the road so that they feel safe. No, we don't want to come across creepy. So I do see that obviously culture has really like removed this from the man, this kind of like the art of the chase. And then that, I think, in effect, is making more men passive.
There's a two-part solution that I have to this dilemma. Number one, women need to stop shaming men for simply approaching them, whether he is attractive in her eyes or not. Yes, I'm calling you out, ladies. Part two, I might get a lot of backlash for this, but more women need to approach. And just to be clear, ladies, I'm not talking about you just doing a brief look at him or a super quick smile, because those are such little hints that he might just think that you're being nice.
After the feudal era of dating and relationships, we've entered this era of relationships where women pick and choose whom they like, with those men who approach them. Women invented this era. Before this, partnerships were coupled up by parents of families coupling a pair. Now two guys can approach a woman, and she can either pick or choose and have two dudes. This is why men don't approach women, because we mostly all realize that women like to be the prize, or will suffer to be with a guy that all women would fight over. This game is a barbaric coupling system. Most men now would rather do transactional relief than to be humiliated and risk not getting relief.
You know what I just realized about relationships? A guy starts off by putting 100% in the beginning of a relationship. And over time, that will slowly go down from like 100 to 95 to 90 to 80 to 85. And then you notice, and you only notice when it goes down to like 75 or 80%, and then you say something. And then when you say something, he puts back 5% effort and you're content. You're like, okay, he put in some effort, but it never goes back up to 100 or 90 or 95. It just goes from like that 75 to 80. And then it goes back down again to like 70. And then it goes down to 60. Long story short, it'll just go back down to 10% when it started at 100. I'm not saying all men do this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as a woman, I feel like we invest more time and put in more effort as the relationship goes on, because it becomes more and more.
Define effort. Oh my God. Look at her crazy eyes. Define effort, right? Define effort. And who is measuring up, down, just going to 65, 10%. You know what? Also, a lot of this can be that he might have realized that you're for the streets and you're not really relationship, you're not wife material, right? And maybe he realized you're for the streets, and at first it took a lot to get you there, and now he's just doing whatever it takes to have the bedroom fun. Because if a man wants to make you his wife, this is not what happens. So, and it sounds to me like she just expects to be treated like a queen all the time, which, yeah, that would not be uncommon. And that's just, nobody can do that. Like, what are you even talking about? Nobody can do that. So anyway, this is more the typical. This is more the typical female type attitude, I guess. Anyway.
Serious. Moral of the story, if you're dating a guy and he starts off at 100% effort and you're noticing over time it's slowly going down, I just think that you deserve.
So according to this woman, men start out giving 100%, and that dwindles to 60-70% until she nags him. It bumps up for a bit, then drops off again. So she concludes women give more in a relationship over time. Right. That's why I hear men complain they aren't getting any bedroom fun anymore. Their woman now weighs 200 lbs, and the men are constantly running around, jumping every time she says jump, trying to please her to no avail. Because women give so much more. Right. Tell me another fairy tale.
Me during the earthquake so that she doesn't get the ick. This is literally what men have to do. These are the hoops they have to jump through because of the ridiculous standards that women put on them on social media. Somebody commented and said, new ick, standing still during an earthquake. Somebody else said, what earthquake? I didn't feel shit. That is what you have to say.
Men know how to put 100% effort and energy towards something they want. Women are not sure what they want, but often are 100% sure that whatever they do have is different. They put ridiculous standards on men and hoops for them to jump through. Men get this understanding once they get what they thought they wanted, they realize they were wrong. When women and men can be what others want but cannot ever get, because the person they are with is way more awesome than they could ever hope to partner with, both can offer everything all the time, and the only doubt will be that there is no substitute for making this clear to the other partner, and the results come to 200% satisfaction.
Nobody talks about this, but it is.
Why did we lose sound? Does anybody know why we lost sound? Don't know. It's not on my side. Okay, the music is okay on his video there. I don't know if it's going to be. Are we
to do
going
this are injured.
If you women seriously still want men to approach you, then you have to accept that sometimes it will be at the park while you just want alone time. Okay? Men aren't mind readers, and we don't know when you just want alone time. That's just part of being a woman, the approach. And the rejection is part of being a man. If that is seriously a problem in your life, then there's something wrong with you. Just be nice and firmly say no if you aren't interested. Just like men shouldn't act like jerks when they approach you, you shouldn't act like a jerk if you aren't interested. Is this really so difficult?
So a girl made a video about this on TikTok, and it's put in the most simple terms. I would say every girl I know right now wants a man who is masculine and a leader. And obviously that comes with like asserting dominance and all these things. And all these women want this. But then no women want to listen. They don't want to listen to the leader. So they want the leader, but then they're not going to listen. And it's so funny because it really comes down to like not listening to them is not only just extremely demasculating.
I don't know why this is devasculating. Emasculating. There's no deep. Okay. Oh boy, lady, she's right. They don't want to obey. And I guess listen means obey. And it's fine. There's a reason that used to be a marital vow.
To them, it's like, so why would they want to be with you? They would go be with a woman who's more feminine and like willing to listen. This is not like, I'm not talking about controlling crazy guys. I'm talking about this is what a strong man in his masculine is. So it's like when you're, doing the whole feminine, new wave feminism, girl boss, I don't listen to anyone, then that's okay. There's a reason why the statistics are saying that all you guys are going to be single and unmarried in the next like 20 years is because you're not listening.
Women want a man to fill her cup, even when his is empty. She refuses to refill his in return, then gets mad when he goes to get it filled somewhere else. But then she expects to get hers filled somewhere else after she has emptied him. Research showed before women entered the workforce in large numbers, they lived 18 years more than men. Today, women do not live longer than men. Women today die at the same age as men, and for the same reason. This is because the stress of working full-time has negative health effects, i.e., stress reduces lifespan. A housewife has way less stress than working. Who knew? That's right, men have always known. I've worked in all male, male majority, mixed, and female majority environments for decades. Generally, the percentage of women in the office directly and exponentially correlated to the amount of drama, turbulence, disruptive problems, and the subsequent reduction of productivity in the office. All male offices were reliable, quick, efficient, and often happy band of brothers, true teams. Things worked well, got done well, problems got solved quickly, and the men naturally supported each other and their teams. Female majority offices were cesspools of endless childish narcissistic unhappiness, near constant backstabbing and undermining, strange obsessions with minor social competitions, neurotic emotionality, primacy on feelings, general interpersonal unpredictability and instability, disruptive complaints and disagreements over minor issues, sometimes imaginary, which were potential landmines for everyone and could take weeks or months to settle, if they settled at all, needless superfluous impediments, and wall-to-wall general stupidity, a real-world soap opera insane asylum hell.
If he's not paying all of your bills, then you are not in any relationship with him.
So if a woman insists on paying her own bills, even if she considers herself to be in a relationship with someone, according to this person, they're not actually in a relationship because he's not their sugar daddy.
Why the hell would you give him full access to you if he's the only person who benefits from that relationship?
And how does that make sense?
Men benefit just by being seen with you.
Men. Did you know that? You benefit just by being seen with a woman.
Just by sharing your energy, your precious feminine energy with him and your beauty, you're giving them extra confidence and ego boost. You're just giving them social and personal promotion for free, just by giving them an access to you. And another thing is that why would you give him husband privileges if he is not even able to cover all of your bills?
Some women actually don't like being dependent on men to pay their bills. They prefer to do it on their own, whether or not they're in a relationship with them or not.
He's the only person that benefits from that, not you.
Oh dear.
Men fall in love by investing in you. And if you don't make them invest in you, then sooner or later, they will stop respecting you.
Let's hear it for transactional relationships, ladies and gentlemen.
Is him paying your bills? It's just bare minimum. It's your non-negotiable. It's 2024, and we need to become a little bit more selfish.
Remember.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. I'll let Scary Lady respond in a second. I'm overwhelmed because I disagree with kind of both of them. I agree more with Scary Lady here than pretend feminine woman who thinks she's speaking up for women, when in reality she's making a fool of herself and all of us by saying if he's not paying all of your bills is the bare minimum. Oh my gosh, to be on such a level where you think that a man that you are not married to, that you're not giving children to, that you're not taking care of, and all of the rest of it, that he should pay all of your bills. See, this is what I said. This is why the first video, it's really difficult to have sympathy for you. This lady here, she doesn't want to be dependent on a man. She obviously doesn't want to, be contributing more than whatever she thinks is fair, but at least she is trying not to be the type of person to take advantage of another person. That's what it seems. Women are going to begin to call out other women. The women calling out some of the women are not going to necessarily be the best that you could hope for, but we've got to get it started somewhere. So it makes me happy that tough lady here is going to call out the other one, because she has a point in this day and age where a lot of times if you live in a city, it takes two incomes. You have to make huge choices of living somewhere else and like maybe only having one car and all these different decisions to live off of one income. But again, I'd rather, if you're gonna pretend you're egalitarian, at least contribute in that way. So this lady is the lesser of the evils in a lot of ways.
The moral of this story is, in order to be respected as a woman, you need to get paid. No.
Usually adding women very quickly made everything worse, more troubled, less efficient, and generally poisoned the environment for us. If the woman was over us in management, the situations could become so unworkable, we had to designate our own unofficial org chart to continue functioning and up-manage the hapless female manager. However, when we men could somehow work together without any women around, which was usually anything that was inconvenient, difficult, or required extra time and effort, we did excellent, efficient work and very much enjoyed the boost in relative happiness and performance. Where did all the good men go? They went elsewhere, trying to find a good woman. Social media is teaching women that men need to meet certain criteria before their presence will be tolerated. Specific height, specific income, etc.
Watch this woman before you scroll.
Is this not what women have been fighting for? Equality, screaming at the top of their lungs their independence. So why do you need a man to get up and give you a seat? You should have been there on time like a man to find your own seat. Or do we get to nitpick and choose when men are supposed to respect us, or nitpick our equality? Is it not weird that she's randomly recording strangers on the subway? Because if a man were to do this, he'd be looked at as a creep or a pedo. And the reality is, taught men that there's no good answer. And what I mean by that is if this man gets up and gives you a seat at any point and looks in your direction maybe the wrong way, he's considered a creep. If he gets up and maybe his arm sweeps against your leg, he can be looking at sexual harassment charges.
Okay, guys, what do you think about it?
Men must meet not just one of the current benchmarks, they have to meet all of them. Instead of wanting a man who is loving and loyal, It has become more desirable to acquire a man who can provide a lavish lifestyle and look good while doing it. When the interest wanes, a very profitable divorce occurs. And on to the next. If anything, women should now consider approaching men instead. Why would I approach a woman when even the ones that seem to compliment you only to get you into a false sense of security immediately follow it up with an insult? It's happened to me so many times that when a woman gives me a genuine compliment and/or expresses interest in me without following it up with an insult, I'm unable to believe that she's being genuine. And then I don't even know what to say, so I just ignore them rather than risk being insulted. I am glad for this trend that men mind their own business or turn gay or whatever they want to do. It is good that men don't approach women anymore. The relationship between men and women is so deeply wounded with so much hatred that neither side needs to approach the other. We need to focus inward on ourselves and just show basic kindness and compassion to all beings instead of getting involved in all this nonsense. Brothers, if you have still not awakened to the reality, get out of the game entirely. Focus upon the purification and cultivation of your soul, and everything else is fodder and minutia after that. If you are still trying to outgame them or figure out how to benefit from the game, you are still a slave to it, and your consciousness needs to evolve now. Thanks for watching Man Reacts. Show us your love and support by liking this video, sharing it with your...
I will have both links, the link to both videos in the description. Boy, words are hard today. Wow, yeah. What he said about, yeah, even if women approach men, the men, can you trust it? Can you trust what she's saying? No, you don't know. You can't. And can you trust her intentions? No, you can't. It's too dangerous right now. I think he's right. I think it's like hit pause until you know what's more. And how about assess the whole situation, the whole way everybody goes about dating and why. Sorry about that. That's not good. The whole reason for dating, the whole reason for marriage, the whole everything, and who should be in charge of that, right? Who the government is what I'm getting at? No, right? As soon as you can be like, it's just a piece of paper, and I started hearing that when I was a kid, you have to go, well, if you can say that, then you need to really look into, well, why can you say that? Because with government, it is. Because what more is it when you come from government, except that it's the threat of taking away the resources from the man, which is why cheaper to keeper came to be a thing. He's basically, staying in a relationship, and she can leverage that fear of him taking his resources and his children into treating him however she wants in that relationship. And it's just, it's not good for anybody. It's not good for the women either. They're doing it, but it's not ending up good for them either. At the end of the day, they're not getting what is good for them. And that's why they're miserable. That's why they've successfully been able to accuse you, extract your resources, all the rest of it. And they are still the ones on the antidepressants, buying the wine, having cats instead of, children, all the rest of it. So it clearly wasn't good for them, what they thought they wanted. The other thing I wanted to say, when he was talking in the video about, all these, all the sixes, right? 6 feet tall, 6-figure income, all those things. Yes, that's what the girls, when they're interviewed on the street or on the Fresh and Fit podcast, whatever, they'll say that's what they demand. And yes, they'll say that. They'll say it because it sounds like, well, this is what I will only date, because they think it makes them sound like they're so high value that this is what they can demand, right? But then you will see at least in the comment section on this channel, you will see men saying, hey, I have 6 figures. I am over 6 feet tall. I still have trouble. And here's the thing that they don't tell you. And the other part of that equation is that, well, how come you see so many chicks dating losers, right? Because the thing they don't tell you, anyone, is that if you tell a girl what she wants to hear, when she wants to hear it, she's gonna date you. That's really what it is. So even if you're over 6 feet tall, this, that, and the other, yeah, that gives you certainly more of a boost in being able to get a date, but it's not the only thing. It's really not. They want you to be excited about their career and talk all about them, you know, so you can go on a date with somebody being over 6 feet tall and making all of the money, take her to a great restaurant. If you're not impressed with her girl bossedness and all the rest of it, if it seems like you might have some kind of expectations of a spouse, she's not going to want that, because she's under the one of her misguided views will be that there's plenty of fish in the sea. Well, there's not. There's plenty of fish on your phone, but those fish don't want to marry you. They might want to do other things. They might want to like your photo. They might be doing the shotgun effect, which I had to learn from guys, which is where they just swipe whatever way you swipe when you like the person, because so few women. So they're like, all right, well, I'll just like all these people and then maybe I'll get a date. But women don't know that. It's so funny. It's so funny now that I talk to more men that I'm just like, wow, there's so much we don't know. But anyway, I wanted to kind of balance the whole, this is, you know, buy a dog, die alone situation that so many women are in right now, are facing right now, and will be facing. They have no idea what it's going to be like. You know, we all get sick. We all need somebody. It's easier to pretend that's not true when you're young. But the thing is that we all need each other. Humans, we do. And we had a system for that. And it was working pretty well until feminism came along and chipped away at it in its various waves to convince women that, you know, we're being oppressed. It took a while to convince women of this, but here we are. So, well, tomorrow is Sunday, so we will definitely have a fairy tale tomorrow. I'm not sure which one yet. We will see what it is, and yeah, I've got that planned so far. I always have great ambitions, but we'll just have to see. Let's see what the MS Beast has to say about it tomorrow. We'll definitely do the fairy tale, but if I can do more, I'm going to do more. It's just too many things I want to share with you. Stuff going on in Australia. It's just a lot. So I love you guys. I want you to take some time to feed your soul. It's very important. This whole world is taking from your soul, and they're wearing at it, I should say. It's important to, you know, build it back up and to find some peace. So, I love you guys, and I will see you guys on the next one.